The North Atlantic. It's a mighty big ocean, and it's all around us, sometimes lapping, sometimes pounding at our doorstep. There used to be a lot of fish out there, enough for everyone. But those days are over. The fishery is in crisis. There are places in this province where the cod have virtually vanished. Perhaps the hardest hit region of all is the Northern Peninsula. It used to be a famous place for fish, and no berths were better than those here at the Grey Islands. Those pictures were taken last year, and the Foley brothers of Conch landed 280,000 pounds. This year, they managed to scrape 90,000, less than 1/3 of their normal landings. But the low landings at Conch look good to fishermen further north. Here at the tip of the Northern Peninsula, it was much, much worse. Don't be fooled by the few salt fish you see here. It's a good part of the year's catch. The fishermen are bringing their traps ashore in disgust. After months of hard work, some haven't made enough to pay their fuel bills. Because the landings are low, so are the unemployment stamps. Many families will have to live on $90 a week this winter. Many will not qualify at all. Here at Green Island Brook, the Fisheries Committee desperately hopes the government will come through with special development programs, winter works programs, anything to tide them through these hard times. This is fisherman Henry Hughes.
Well, normally is, I do enough to get people get by with anyway, and not depend on anybody else for help. Only this last 2 years, this is the worst we've had, and this one is the worst.
Now, it doesn't mean people are going to be forced on welfare, or are you hoping for some programs to come?
Well, we hope for some programs to come. If not, it's going to be welfare. If not, they're going to have to go to other places to look for work.
No, it wasn't from lack of trying, was it? I mean, you all worked hard at the fishery this year.
Oh, no, it wasn't for lack of trying. I've heard people say our fisherman doesn't try to get it. But if our fishermen only today only fish with what my father fished with, you wouldn't see very much fish. I'd be able to eat all the catch. So that's, we got more. There's one crew, 4 or 5 fishermen got more gear now, and a dozen fishermen, half a dozen crew had years ago.
What's the reason for it? Henry, does anybody really know why there are no fish out there?
I don't think fishermen have saying for years, you can't catch them winter and summer. If you catch a fish in the wintertime, you can't catch it in the summertime. You can't catch them twice. And I begin to believe, I wonder if that isn't true or not.
So you're really blaming the draggers?
Well, I wouldn't exactly blame only the draggers. We got the deep sea, we got the foreigners too, we got everybody into it. And everybody getting a little bit of it, it all helps. The saltfish plant, or stage as it's called, normally hires 60 or 70 people. It's empty now. It's the second year in a row the people of Green Island Brook have had to tighten their belts. There's no money for social functions. Even the dart leagues have died. There can be no luxuries. It's hard enough to pay the bills. Osborne Noseworthy runs the general store. When did you notice it start to fall off, business start to fall off?
Well, it was about in June before it really started to fall off, because people had to prepare anyway, right? So it was about June before it really started to fall down a bit.
It's been dropping ever since?
Yeah, every month it's been dropped.
Not everything comes from the store. People everywhere were busy digging and drying off their potatoes, getting them ready for the cellar. Diane Noseworthy, who usually works in the plant, was out of a job this year, and her husband, a fisherman, was forced to leave his family behind at Green Island Brook.
Since I've been here 16 years now, it's the worst I've seen it.
Your husband is fishing? Or he was fishing?
He was fishing, yeah. But he's had to go away to Goose Bay to try and get his stamps and keep the family income coming.
He'd rather be in the fishing boat, I guess?
Oh, yes. I didn't think I'd ever see him leave, but this year he's really discouraged.
Yeah. What does it mean now to a woman, to a homemaker? I mean, it must be a bit of a struggle.
It is. It's a big change when you're used to every year. You can depend on that stage over there opening, and you're not going to make big money, but you can keep the food on the table.
Yeah. Were you working there too? Or?
I've always worked there, yes.
Yeah. So you're out of a job, and your husband doesn't make much from the fishery.
That's right. Everything seems to be going downhill.
It must be hard at this time of year with the kids starting off school too.
That's what I really found hard. I mean, throughout the summer you can make do and that. But thank God for the shops. They're keeping us going.
Yeah.
You can mark, but then you get so far in the hole that you
Yeah.
may never get out of it again. Even with my husband gone, by the time he comes home Christmas, there won't be a cent solved up because I got to pay up the bills that we've got so far behind in the summer and that.
So everybody here is finding it pretty tight right now.
Oh yes, there's a scatter family that has made it. Their husbands are school teachers.
Right.
You know,
But anybody who
but they-
depended on the fishery.
they're all finding it hard.
Yeah.
All finding it hard.
So really, it's a matter of pinching pennies, isn't it?
Oh yes, pinching pennies. I said I've been so low this year that I haven't even had pennies to pinch.
Now you're still smiling, but it must hurt sometimes too.
Oh, it hurts, but I guess other communities have lived through it and survived, and eventually things will get better here. If we got a fishermen's committee, I think they're working on trying to change things over the stage for next year. I hope they do. And if they don't, I don't know what's going to happen here. We've already been talking about moving away, but I wouldn't want to leave here, not now. It's home to me, and I really love it. It's a good place for the kids to grow up and that, but if things get too bad, we're going to have to go.
St. Anthony, the largest community on the Northern Peninsula. Though there are other jobs here, the fishery is by far the most important employer. The plant, which at peak production has 600 employees, is now empty. No fish, no work. Boats that once could pick up a bit of fish from spring right through till fall were idle. It's not worthwhile going out anymore, according to veteran fisherman Ray Elliott.
We're losing the hens of our fishery. Normally, perhaps 20, 25 years ago, you could start gill netting in May month. And from there you go to the cod traps. In the fall of the year you go to the trawls. And you keep that up until the frost and snow drove you out of the water. But those years, it seems there's nothing to get before July, probably last part of July, last couple of years, or last 3 or 4 years. And then 1st of September is all over again, so you don't have very much left. So it seems to me the schools of fish, wherever they are, they could be still plentiful, but they are smaller. And there don't seem to be enough fish left around to populate the fishing grounds in the spring and the fall. So those fish behave the same. They're still running schools, but the schools are fewer and far between.
What do you blame, Ray? Have you figured it out? Everybody has an idea on the fishery. Is it the trawlers? Do you blame the government, or is it the way we fish and quotas?
I'm not sure that blame is the right word, but I'm convinced that the overfishing which began shortly after the last World War is the cause of the problems with the cod fishery. I'm convinced of that, and apparently the data, all reports, and the experience has pretty well shown that to be true, you know.
Too much fishing pressure, especially offshore. It's a complaint we heard wherever we went in northern Newfoundland. Is the offshore fishery really to blame, or is it just a convenient scapegoat? The inshore fishery has failed before and then bounced right back. Perhaps there'll be all kinds of fish next year. Maybe so, but for now, all people see and know is empty nets and empty pocketbooks, and something has caused it. Those who depend on the inshore fishery in this part of Newfoundland face a bleak winter. The Northern Pen is a newspaper that serves northern Newfoundland and southern Labrador. Its writers have chronicled the decline of the fishery. Many sad stories have crossed the desk of editor Byrne Bromley.
We have people moving away, moving out of the area, houses going up for sale in small communities that, you know, family after family, or father and son, and down the line, people have lived there over the years. And now we see that some of those people are pulling up stakes and moving out. They've just been forced to give up on the fishery. We see more boats for sale, full of selling cod traps, any extra gear they have. I think they're trying to unload it just to sort of make ends meet. Recently we carried a story about around Parsons Pond, St. Paul's area, where I think 300 people have left 2 or 3 small communities there in a very short time. Up around Green Island, Brook, and those communities, we hear tell of people moving, you know, trying to go somewhere else, look for a job to survive. And I think this one here, where we have Tony Blake there from Straitsview, just there at the last of August, you know, he pulled up and took his family and moved off to Brampton, I think, in Ontario, looking for work. I can recognise what Tony Blake is going through. You know, there's a man who got his roots in Straitsview, home down there, and all this kind of stuff, and his family knows everybody, and it's a nice lifestyle. It's the kind of lifestyle you like to give your children. But when you have no money, you get to make that decision to go elsewhere, and it's a hard decision to make, to take a family out of Straitsview and put them in Brampton or in Brantford or Toronto or someplace like that. I mean, back in the 50s, when we had the foreigners coming over, they came here, and the 3-mile limit and the 12-mile limit was in effect, but it wasn't enforced, and they just came in and scooped up the grounds right along the Northern Peninsula and down as far as the Hamilton Banks, I guess. So what happened when we brought in the 200-mile limit, we thought that was the solution, but we replaced the foreigners, I think, with our own offshore vessels. And they just came in there. They go down to Labrador now in the Hamilton Banks, and they fish during the spawning season. They scoop up everything that's there, and there's no fish left to come in. And what we see coming in, I think, are little spots of fish that happen to elude those draggers. So I really think that's where the heart of the problem is, and I think a lot of people realise that's the problem, but now come up with a solution.
We never made enough to pay for our waves.
The story of Tony Blake and his family, who were forced to leave the fishery and seek work in Toronto, interested us. How bad must it be to make a man sell his boat and uproot his young family? So we went to Straitsview to track down Tony's friends and neighbours. The Blakes occupy one side of the harbour. They were busy stowing away their fishing gear and trying to figure out what to do. It had been a miserable year for all hands. Tony was the first to leave, but he probably won't be the last. His cousin and fishing partner, Harry Blake, will probably be the next to go to Toronto. He can't hope to survive on what he caught this year.
We got 8,000 pounds, 2 of us.
So that's not enough to pay your expenses either?
No, they're not paying any installments if you had any.
Yeah. Tell me now about your partner. He's gone already, is he?
Yeah, he's gone to Toronto. Took his family and took off to Toronto. Yeah.
And that means you had to sell some of your fishing gear?
Sold a boat, motor, and cod trap.
So you haven't got anything even to fish with now if you wanted to?
Another year, I'm going to go with another crew or get it all together myself, one or the other.
What are you going to do? Have you figured it out yet?
I haven't figured it out yet, no. Trying to get a job in Toronto right now, so I can get one there.
Do you really want to go to Toronto?
No, don't see much choice.
Another fisherman, Sterling Blake, proposes a drastic solution to the problems of the fishery. Close it down altogether till the stocks rebuild.
I never got none. Stop it. I don't know what causes. I said they got to stop the fishery altogether. That's what I feel like. Do something for the people and stop it for 10 or 15 years.
Let the stocks build up?
Yeah, stop spot up.
Have you ever seen it as bad as this year?
Oh, yeah, no, never. Not a bad year. Bad last year was the worst year.
And how much fish now did you get, you and your crew?
Well, I never got no one got around 9,000 pounds. That's 90.
And how much would you get now in a good year?
Well, I suppose a good year, probably get around 40, 50,000. In a good year, more than that, what?
Yeah.
Fish come thick.
Baxter, not much fish today?
No, it's pretty scarce. We hauled 55 nets before we got there now. That's about 100 pounder, blackback, codfish. One salmon you can see.
Yeah. 55 nets, that's pretty lean pickings, isn't it?
Yes, it's pretty scarce. Hasn't been much around here this summer.
Yeah. So is that the way it's been now all year?
Well, it was a bit better than that, but not much. We was working 80 nets now. One day we had 6,000, but most times down less than 1,000 pounds. 80 nets.
And now there's practically nothing.
There's nothing now. Well, we took it up today.
That's the end of it.
That's the end of it. It's now we're going out for it.
Yeah. John Henderson's nets are ashore too. He scraped enough stamps for unemployment insurance, but that's a poor measure of success for a man like John.
Getting worse all the time. What the cause of it is, I don't know. It's just, we say the draggers, but could it be in the environmental changes, different weather patterns? I don't know, but the fish don't come in. And what's there? The fish that you get there, it's only small, eh? The fish is not there anymore.
It's caught offshore, you
It's caught offshore. I think winter fishing has got a lot to do with it. I don't know, for us, you know. On black tickle now, Labrador, they done good. But that's why we're here. Why, you know, that's why my forefathers shift from the south. They were living in Cubits, coming down here in the first place, coming down here to the fishery. And we got to move on a little farther north, you know. Probably the same thing going to happen down Black Tickle what happened in Port of Swa a few years ago. There's one of the best places around, Carpoon down there. You can't talk to a banker fisherman up on the southwest coast, but that haven't been in Carpoon years ago, thousands of fish. They had a fish plant working, I suppose, one of the first fish plants on the Northern Peninsula, or on the northeast coast. There's an English company. And now, I mean, don't get enough for one person. It's not a real have a decent living. Okay.
And so a great many people in northern Newfoundland struggle on, do what they can to survive these trying times. Some have left for the mainland. Others are hanging on, hoping the fish will return next year, hoping for a make-work program, for emergency assistance to tide them over. For many families, it promises to be a long, hard winter. Nothing to do now but dig in and wait, and hope that better times are coming. What a strange fishery it was this year. In the north and west, some crews landed less than 10,000 pounds all year, while in the east, many a crew landed that before breakfast. Here off Pooch Gulf, it was the best fishery in years. We went out with Ron Reed and his crew at the peak of the trap fishery. See him already?
Oh. Look at that. Huh? Fishing not like it used to be, you know. There's a lot of small into it. Even the boys on the ground now with the gill nets, right? They find that there's not as big a fish as what it used to be. You're gonna have to come up there, Ron. Go on aboard the span line. You'll have to go right to the corner with them and bring them down. There you go. Now, let's get the holler off. Come on. Come on, we get him up. There he comes out from underneath the boat. Come on, just get him up.
Thousands of pounds of fish in Ron Reed's traps practically every time he hauled. It's the kind of year that trap fishermen dream of. Or so you'd think. But Ron had his problems this year nevertheless, for other crews were catching a lot of fish too. And on top of that, the buyers were up to their ears in capelin and not that interested in small codfish. Quotas had been set for each boat. Fishermen often had to let their catch go or not bother to haul.
I'd say we got about around 3,000 to 4,000 by the look of it. It's not hauling it up now. Because every time he goes in now and the phone rings in the night time, you're in dread.
Why is that? You're not get rid of it?
Can't get rid of it or they'll either put you on a quota probably. 2 days a week now we were on a quota of £2,500.
What did you do then if you came out and had a big catch?
Well, you go in and you get on the phone. Try to sell it somewhere else, right? Well, everybody in there now is pretty well on a quota.
I see.
You know, and there's
that must be pretty frustrating for you.
Well, I see us Saturday. We had a big catch of fish. We went in, we had, all we got clear was 5,000. Had to let the rest go Saturday.
And how much did you have?
I'd say we had about 15,000. And then Monday, we were on a quota Monday, 2,500. Now you figure that out for 4 men. Not much.
With what you got now this morning, do you think you'll find a market?
I'm pretty sure, right? You know. Now, I don't know I can tell you quite honestly right now, I don't know where one of them is going yet. Because the plant that I'm dealing with, they never phoned me last night. They usually phone you with a quota, right? And they never phoned me at all last night. And yesterday I had to sell, up to that boat in town. Up in St. John's, right? They got the union got a boat up there. And yesterday I sold up there.
So catching it is not even half the problem.
Catching, we wouldn't mind the catching part of it. We love because we like at it, right? But how frustrating it is when you comes out here and you get a bit of fish and then you goes in, you don't know, you know, what the story is on it. And every year it's the same thing, and yet there's no one, there's none of them, union or none of them, government or none of them is doing anything about it. It just seems like that they're afraid to cross one with the other, you know.
Ron Reid is concerned about the future of the fishery. Even though he and the other fishermen of Pooch Cove and Flat Rock did well this year, the fish were very small. Does this mean the big fish, the breeders, have been all caught up? A failure in the west and small fish here in the east. What's happening? What's the reason for the decline? Like most inshore fishermen, Ron doesn't hesitate to point to the winter fishery offshore.
In the winter time, I think we're doing the most damage. When the fish are all getting together to spawn, that's when I think they're doing the most damage. Because you take it, they can go out then, lower down them trawls and that, and sweep a lot of fish. Now, who knows, 3 parts of that fish might be after spawning, you know, and this is where they're doing the biggest damage. Everybody got their own viewpoint on it, right? But there's definitely too much winter fishery, you know. Everybody is after it, and it's not going to stand, you know.
But do you think there's room for both inshore and offshore
Definitely,
fisheries?
most definitely, but not on the scale that they're trying to bring up the. You know, the federal government put a big lot of money into the fishery, into the offshore, you know, and they're going to have to make do with a certain amount, and they're going to have to forget. If they want to sustain and get the fishery back in shape again, they're going to have to forget profits. You know, that's definitely, because natural resources, no ways are going to stand what it's going through now. Definitely not.
Have you noticed a difference here now off Pooch Cove? It looks like you've got a big catch, and you do have a lot of fish, but how does it compare with 20 years ago, say?
20 years ago here, you'd throw that stuff away, because it's only tomcats. 20 years ago. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad, but they're going to have to sit down and take a serious look at it and forget the dollar value of it and look at it to save it. Because I guarantee you the cod right now is an endangered species.
As we steamed back to Pooch Cove with our load of fish, I pondered Ron Reid's words. The cod, an endangered species. Could he be right? Is it possible that after 500 years of catching fish on these rugged shores, that the day will come when the fish are all gone? The warning signs are there. As we've seen, there were no fish in the west, and they're getting smaller and smaller here in the east. Never in our history have there been so many boats chasing the fish. Never so much gear in the water. The government, alarmed by its own findings, has imposed quotas, forcing trawlers to tie up and plants to close. If the cod is not an endangered species, it's certainly one that's struggling for survival. And so is the fishing industry. There must be a lot of belt tightening, a lot of soul searching over the next few years, and a lot of tough decisions to make. Let's hope they're the right ones.